Before television, the great picture magazines captured world events for millions of readers. They sent correspondents and photojournalists to the ends of the earth to record history in the making. Among this elite was the photographer John Launois. Welcome everyone to today's BookTrib live chat. I am your host, BookTrib Babe. Of course, you can follow me there on Twitter to get all the news and updates going on in our fabulous book lovers community, booktrib.com. If you are a returning guest of our lovely live chat, then welcome back. And if this is your first time, well then welcome too. And you could head over to booktrib.com to find out more amazing, great things we are doing, such as this chat. We have a really special treat for you today. If you heard in my initial intro, it is about the photographer John Launois. During the 1960s and 1970s, the final decades of the golden age of photojournalism, John Launois blossomed as one of the most prolific and sought-after photojournalists of the period. His published work appeared in Life, the Saturday Evening Post, National Geographic, Fortune, Time, Newsweek, Look, Rolling Stone, Paris Match, London's Sunday Times, and many other American, European, and Asian publications. You cannot think of an image from this time period without envisioning a Launois photo. From the Beatles, such as this fabulous photograph. There's another amazing one in here. These may look familiar to you. This one. To Malcolm X. This one may look familiar as well. How gorgeous is this? Stunning. So the Beatles, Malcolm X, Bob Dylan, John Steinbeck, Salvador Dali, Dustin Hoffman, Soviet comrades, rural miners, rebel soldiers, he captured them all. John Launois started a memoir detailing all of this. Unfortunately, he passed away in 2002 and was unable to finish it. His son, however, Chris Launois, who comes to chat with us today, finished his father's memoir, LAmericain, A Photojournalist's Life. Let me just say, this is a beautiful book, as you were able to tell from the inside. It is just, it's gorgeous. And you could have a chance to win one of these books if you head over to booktrib.com and click our Enter to Win button. Now a little bit about Chris before he joins us. Of course, he is the son and co-author of this incredible book, and he lives in New York City. He is a musician and a composer, and he is the host of the weekly TV show Pandemonium on Channel 67 in the city, and worldwide on mnn.org. I can see he is waiting for us in the wings. Please feel free to start submitting questions if you have not already, and he'll be happy to answer them.
Wow. Hello.
Hi, Chris.
Hello, BookTrib Babe. Is that what you said?
Yes, BookTrib Babe. How are you? We're so happy you're here with us.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
Of course. So I am going to head out of your way and let you take the floor.
Oh, okay.
And we'll start.
Oh, there I am. Which way do I go here? All right. I'll get used to this space odyssey in a while. All right. What do we do now? Did your dad travel with the group? He went to England. The question is, can everybody see this question? I don't really know. This is the first live chat I've ever been on. So anyway, the question is, did my father travel with the Beatles? He went to England to Epstein, the manager's office, and trying to convince him the manager, who didn't want to really do the shoot, to do it. And for Saturday Evening Post, he went to England, and they tried to shoot him in the streets, but there were too many crazy girls running around and in the streets, so they had to create the whole setting in the studio. So the pictures he took of the Beatles were actually in the studio, though it looks like they're outside. It was conceptual photos. Travel with the group, yeah. Okay. Another question. Why was this an important book to write? Oh, well, I wanted to know my father's story because I knew it was a good one, an adventurous story. So uh, and everybody close to my father was telling him, John, tell write your story. I'm getting this. Write your story because it's a story worth telling. And I knew that if we waited too long, it'd be too late. And so he had trouble starting uh, to write the book. So after years of he did research before starting, and he wouldn't start. So I just said, Dad, tell me the story, and I'll start writing it down for you. And so that's how it started. Then he started giving me notes and handwritten pages, and then typed like old man typewriter pages. And so I would refine it, and we worked together for 7 years to write the book, and then it took 10 more years to get it to publication today. Why was it? Yeah. It was a story worth telling. That's why it was important. What was the golden era of photojournalism, and what was the position of John Launois in it? Oh, the golden age of the golden era of photojournalism. It basically peaked in the 60s, and that's when my father became a Top Gun international photojournalist. And so he was there at just at the right time, where the photojournalistic magazines like Saturday Evening Post and Life magazine, they had a lot of power to affect the world, opinion in the world, even Congress in the U.S. to even make laws about against pollution and you name it. And so it was a pretty, it was a uh, he was there right at the top peak of photojournalism, but then television came in, and basically the great photojournalistic magazines collapsed from the competition of television. When did your father get interested in photojournalism? Uh, my father, John, he was in World War II France when just a boy when the Nazis invaded his country and took over, and you lost all your freedoms. And so he fell in love with America because when America joined the Allied effort to liberate France, he just fell in love with the Americans, the GIs, and the whole idea of America, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom to assemble. All these things he lost when the Nazi fascists invaded and occupied his country, along with many other countries. So he fell in love with America as they came across the Atlantic to liberate his country, and then dreamt of becoming an American. And so his initial naive dream was to write poetry and drive across the free roads of America with no checkpoints and just thirsted for freedom. And and he met a correspondent from Life magazine, Joe Pazin, who, upon hearing that, said, John, it's not really realistic to be wanting to write poetry and drive across the country. Why don't you look at these Life magazines and consider photojournalism as your as a possible career? And so he started working for Joe, and that's how it all began. And it took a long, long time and a great struggle, but he eventually became a photojournalist, a Top Gun international photojournalist for Life magazine, Saturday Evening Post, many others, and became an American um, as well. LAmericain. That's what we got here. Do you have a favorite photo of your father's? Why is that one a favorite? Yeah, I like the Beatles chapter, the photos from that, and the Malcolm X. I was very impressed with that. I told him I was proud of him as we were working on the book, and he was happy to hear that. So, I mean, those are the ones that come to mind first. And the Tassidae tribe from National Geographic, the Stone Age tribe, as they call them. It's just a tribe that was in the middle of the Philippines jungle that hadn't been seen for like 1,000 years, and they were just living in the caves, and it was just beautiful and incredible. story, I thought. I get used to this. Let's see. As a musician, does it give you great satisfaction to know that your dad took such iconic pictures featuring the Beatles? It's great satisfaction. And oh, I have to push more here. Let's see. Great. Featuring the Beatles and so many more. Does it give me great satisfaction? Well, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, yeah, sure. Why, I was proud of him, and I'm glad I got a chance to work with him for all those years to get the story down, and the team that worked on this book did a great job. I mean, it's a kind of book that you want in your hand as opposed to something electronic because the design and everything, it really beautifully done. We had a great team working on this. We have a great team. Cheers. How did he come to shoot Malcolm X? Yeah, great chapter. He was given an assignment by Saturday Evening Post, and the editor warned him, John, be prepared for a hostile encounter because Malcolm X at that point was saying, he hates the white man, because of all the racism and all that they had done, the oppression. And so the editor was right to warn him. So my father was sent out to Egypt because the Post wanted pictures of Malcolm X in Egypt. And finally, he arrived at like 2 o'clock in the morning, Malcolm X at the hotel. And my father puts out his hand to shake his hand, and Malcolm X wouldn't shake it. So it was a tense beginning. And then they started talking about oppression, and Malcolm X said to my father, "You know nothing about oppression." And then my father said, "Well, I know a little bit about oppression after 4 years of Nazi occupation and you're losing your liberty." And uh, and then Malcolm X said, "What did he say?" He said, 4 years of oppression is a long time. Imagine a lifetime." And then Malcolm X smiled for the first time. And then they had a conversation and they became friends out in Egypt. And they went on that whole shoot. And the photographs you saw were taken, the iconic photographs of Malcolm X out there. And Malcolm X was just realizing at that point that it's not really white against black. It's kind of it's a more of a class thing. Like the oppressed, you don't have to be white or black to be oppressed. You just have to be poor. And so he was Malcolm X at that point was going through that transformation and realizing there were Muslims that were white out there as well. So just as he was getting realizing all this, that's when they met. And he gave my father a personal letter to give to Malcolm X's wife, Betty Shabazz, in New York, and said, "Don't mail it because I don't trust the post office. Just deliver it in person because I trust you." And so they became friends in that short amount of time. And then, of course, Malcolm X was assassinated, unfortunately. Uh, so just as he was transformed, making a transformation, it happens all the time. How did he come? Oh, okay. Why is the book called L'Americain? Well, my father's nickname was L'Americain, which means the American in French. And during World War II France, when France was occupied by the Nazi armies and France's own Vichy government was collaborating with the Nazis and the fascists that took over their country. It was like there was no justice, no freedom, and so his father and my father would listen to the BBC radio, which was illegal to listen to during occupied France's 4 years. And so they would close the shutters and listen to the BBC, and they would report on how the Allies joined the effort to liberate France. And that's when they thought, well, maybe there's a chance we'll be free. Maybe we'll be free with the Americans joining it. And so my father fell in love with America, and he would tell his friends all the Allied victories he heard on the BBC radio. so often that they nicknamed him LAmericain. So it's like, hey, LAmericain, what's happening? That kind of thing. So that's stuck with him all his life. He believes in America, which I try to as well. Tell us something you learned about your father for this project that you didn't know before. That's a tough one, man. What didn't I know before? Well, I guess I didn't know how many risks he took. I mean, he did so many dangerous assignments. I didn't realize. Uh, I guess I didn't realize how many risks he actually took. I mean, and it that's part of the adventure of this book. I mean, he goes into hurricanes and just makes it out alive with the engines failing, or one story after another goes in the Philippines jungle where there's, heat-seeking snakes and striped-legged spiders and uh, just crazy situations. And I guess I learned that he took a lot of risks and he made it out alive each time. It's kind of amazing, and well, that was part of the reason I knew we had to write this story because it's not too many people live that kind of adventurous life. Yeah, I think that's it. How has photojournalism changed since your father was taking pictures? Do you think it has changed for the better? Well, photojournalism, the golden age, they say, as we were talking about before, was the 60s and 70s. All the 60s and late 60s and 70s, they started collapsing the photojournalistic great magazines. Now, I don't know, photojournalism is not what it used to be, but I don't know. You have to hope that uh, you can you can still succeed in it, but it's hard with television because television is so powerful that it's really hard to compete. It's a tough picture for a photojournalist, just like a rock and roller. Everyone can steal the music for free. Everyone can take your pictures for free. You don't have to get permission because it's just it's a different era. I don't know the answer. How artists are going to get paid anymore. You know, right? Don't smoke, kids. It's really bad for you. Huh? Sorry. Your father started writing this book before he passed away. How much of it did you have to? How much? What are you doing? How much of it did you have to finish? Oh, I see. Yeah, we wrote for 7 years together, and we were just nearing the end, the last chapter, and uh, and then he from heart failure. He was 73 years old. He died unexpectedly, and so I had to finish the last chapter by looking at all his notes and talking with his wife Sigrid and my mom Yukiko, who became friends amazingly after his death and close like family. And so I pieced it all together. Don Connery, Time Life correspondent, good friend of my father's, he helped me navigate the terrain of trying to finish that last chapter. And then I wrote the epilogue. So that took several months to do, and then just editing. I mean, it was so much to edit because there's so many countries and names in this book. He's been around the world, globetrotting internationally around the world. So it was a huge endeavor to make everything correct because it's nonfiction, so it's got to be correct. And that took a long time. And then to finally get published, that took in the end it took 17 years from start to finish to get this book to publication. Long, a long American journey. What kind of books do you like to read? Me, books. generally nonfiction. Like what are the books on the shelf here? I've been reading some stuff about a lot of stuff about 9/11. Professor David Ray Griffin's books, Debunking 9/11 Debunking, and The Mysterious Collapse of World Trade Center 7, and Richard Clarke's Against All Enemies, his account of what happened on 9/11. And yeah, I like nonfiction right now, personally. Do I play instruments? Yeah, I play guitar most of my life. Steel string guitar generally, and singer songwriter. Uh, so I got my voice and I got my guitar. How about you? Can you play? You want me to play something right now? What am I gonna play? I don't know if it's in tune, man. If it's in tune, I'll. What the hell am I gonna play? Uh, if this is in tune, I'll play you a quick moment. Let's see. It's not in tune, baby. I mean, if you want me to tune this, I could try, but all right. Hold on, give me a sec. All right, but that. All right, I can try to tune this if you can keep asking questions if you like. I didn't know I would have tuned this if I would have anticipated such a question. I don't know why this gave me a hard time. I don't know, man. What musicians or composers do you draw inspiration from? Uh, well, the Beatles were the reason. I mean, John Lennon was the reason I went into music. He was the inspiration. That's why I started. But I love movie soundtracks, and I love, of course, the classics. You know, like U2, and I love Springsteen. I met him once. He's a nice guy. He's a gentleman. I snuck into a party once and met him there and thanked him for his music. Yeah, but the Beatles were John Lennon was the reason. What's next for you? Are you writing a second book? What's that going to be about? Yeah, I'm writing a second book. I've written it actually, but I haven't had time to proofread it because of this promotion for this book, LAmericain, A Photojournalist's Life, which, by the way, it's available at major bookstores and indie bookstores, and you can find all the links to that at the website theamericanbook.com. And you'll see Barnes and Nobles, Amazon. You know, you can click on anything you want if you want to get the book. I think it's cooler to have the actual physical book because it's a special book with the photographs complementing the story. So I suggest getting the hardcover now as opposed to waiting for the ebook. The ebook will come, but not now, not yet. So, but either way, I think it's much cooler to have the actual hardcover book. The designer did a beautiful job. The designer, editor, everyone did an outstanding job, and So I suggest you think about getting the hardcover, mon ami. This is a hard time. All right, let's see what else you got. Did your father go back to France? My stepfather was in World War II. Thank you for his service. But he wouldn't go back when my mother visited. Go back. My mother visited France. He wouldn't go back. Well, my father, yeah, he went back to France for a while. He stayed there when he separated with my mom, Yukiko. They stayed friends, but he went to France for a while and had a hard time because all the photojournalistic magazines were collapsing around that time in the early 70s. So it was like the rug was being pulled from under his feet. And so it was kind of a hard time in France for him when he went back. But he was lucky, and he met another remarkable woman, Sigrid. Um, and he married her. And then my mother, Yukiko, and Sigrid, they became friends, amazingly. I mean, that's a story in itself, for sure. But America was always the country he loved. John's traveled to get photos. What kind of dangers did he face as a photojournalist? A lot of dangers, man. A lot of dangers. I mean, that was part of the reason that I thought this story had to be written, is because it was one dangerous situation he's getting into another. You know, whether it's in India or Far East, or hurricanes or wars, riots in Japan. You know, it's pretty remarkable he made it out alive of all these situations. I can't believe this thing is giving such a hard time. Why? Sorry, folks. All right. I'm sure you have a lot of memories of and with your father. Do you have a most memorable moment throughout your time? Oh, I got some memorable moments, but let's see. Most memorable. Um, uh, I guess when we were working on the book, and I just realized how much he did in his life. I mean, he was globetrotting around the world and doing these really iconic, conceptual, impressive photojournalistic work and essays, that I just realized how much he'd done. And so when we were working on the Malcolm X chapter at the time in Liechtenstein, where he was living with Sigrid at the time, I just told him I was proud of him, and it almost uh, brought tears to his eyes. So that's one moment. I'm glad I got a chance to tell him that. Did you ever watch your father? Did I ever watch my father in action? Well, that's a philosophical question, isn't it? In action. No, usually he was far away, like he was globetrotting around the world. So when I was a kid, we would usually keep in touch by phone. You know, I love you, I miss you, and da da dee da da da. And it was only in the last 7 years that we really became close, like reached a level of camaraderie that's unique, I guess, in any relationship. So I'm lucky that we got that chance in action. Did friends and family expect you to become a photojournalist as well? No, no. My father, he saw the magazines, the power that they used to have, fading and collapsing under the weight of television's power. So he guided me to head towards more video and film. So I went to film school at NYU, and I got that Pandemonium TV show here, and uh, at the same time, my mom gave me a guitar, so I went into music as well at the same time, and juggling a lot of different impossible American journeys, I guess. Well, at least the book is done finally, so I'm glad about that. What do you like to do for fun? Yeah, now we're talking. What do I like to do for fun? I like to, go to parties, socialize. Um, there's a local bar here called the Parlor on 86th Street. I go there often. They say I live there, but they have pool tables, so just with friends, friendly embraces and kisses on the cheek or whatever. We play pool there, and Wednesday and Sunday nights we play. We sing and dance karaoke, wireless mics. That's a lot of fun. Um, what else? What do you like to do for fun? That's a good question. What about America moved your father? What about America? Well, as I mentioned before, I mean, uh, it's hard to imagine Nazi armies invading your country, right? And then taking over everything and collaborating with the French government. It's like the fascists armies were invading the borders, but they were also from within with the government. I mean, it sounds familiar, perhaps, but so if you lose your freedom like that, you couldn't even gather in more than numbers of like three at a time in the streets or whatever. So you lost the freedom to assemble, you lost freedom of speech, everything was censored. You lost freedom of the press, freedom itself, and so you would thirst for some kind of justice, some kind of poetic justice, any kind of justice, and the Americans came and helped. They were critical in helping to liberate France. Without the America's help, who knows? I mean, who knows if he would have been a free man eventually. And so he just fell in love with America and for the sacrifices they made coming across the Atlantic, liberating France. And in a way, his book, I mean, it wasn't easy for him to write. Um, because it's hard facing your whole life and like because you make a lot of mistakes in this life and so you have to face them at the same time you write about your globe-trotting triumphs and it's not easy. It wasn't easy for him, it wasn't easy for us, but for him especially. And so but in a sense he continued and he persevered to finish this book because he wanted to leave something behind, like a tribute to America, just parting gift to America. This book, LAmericain, A Photojournalist's Life. It's his uh, it's his gift to America. Grateful for America for taking him in, and sharing what liberty she offered. Uh, You've mentioned TV a lot. Do you give the internet a thumbs up or thumbs down for photojournalists? Wow, man. Well, I'm just getting used to this Space Odyssey chat right now, so I don't know if I'm the right person to ask that, but uh, uh, it's a double-edged sword. The internet can be used for great things. It could be used for peaceful revolution, peaceful rebellion, for information that you normally wouldn't be able to get in another era. So I, I guess try to hope to be optimistic that maybe it'll help, but it's difficult. It's difficult to get paid these days, as a photojournalist or a rock and roller or any kind of artist or newsman. I heard a bunch of photojournalists just got fired from some major newspaper, like they fired the whole staff. So It ain't gonna be easy, whatever it is, but what's ever easy that's worth anything anyway, right? Do you listen to music while you write? What kind? Yeah, absolutely. I listen to music almost always. um, when I write, what kind of music? Usually, mostly movie soundtracks. I got a, you know, what's his name? Jason Bourne, the Bourne Identity soundtracks, the James Bond soundtracks, Appaloosa. Any movie that I think the soundtrack sounded cool, I use it. I use it to be creative, I guess, or it inspires me. Like, for instance, when I was working on the JFK's funeral, the chapter about my father covers that story when JFK was assassinated. He was supposed to cover his campaign, but then when he was killed, he had to cover the funeral. So whenever I'd work on that or proofread that, edit that, I would listen to uh, da na 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 na, The Godfather. And does that make sense to you? Uh, it wasn't Oswald. That's all I can tell you. What song would you say could it be applied to the soundtrack of my life? Wow. Who's asking all these questions? Did you hear this question? What song would you say could be applied to the soundtrack of your life? What song? What's that song? Oh, No Line on the Horizons by U2, 2009. Great song. Check it out. No Line on the Horizon. Beautiful. Listen to it every night before I go out into the dark night. What did you major in film school? Film. When else are we gonna major? Yeah, yeah, it was a great time back then. Long time ago, it was great. It was just such a creative time. But now, if somebody wants to go to film school, like, and well, I shouldn't say this, but anyway, college is so expensive now. It's unbelievable. I mean, it's unfair. It's unjust. I mean, it's really short-sighted. Um, it used to be like $10,000 a year for 4 years. Now it's like without housing. Now it's like 60,000. I heard from some of my poor younger friends. It's really unfair. It's crazy. It shouldn't be that much. You could make a movie instead of going to film school now if you wanted. Four times 60,000. What is that? $240,000. Boom! You got a movie. Get the crew. Anyway. What are those? What are those posters behind me? Are they bands or pictures of places? Oh, sorry. I go this way. Uh, well, Claudia, my fortunately, who was here to help me with this technological adventure here, tech advisor. She made some posters of our band, The Pan. That's the name of the band, PAN, The Pan. So she put together some collages and there's some of my father's photographs below. You can't really see it, but uh, it's just stuff that uh, was promoting the band and that Claudia had the kind heart to make. You have a great voice. Have you ever done radio? I'm ready. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, no, I'm ready. I'm ready anytime, anywhere, as long as it's. something positive again. Have I ever done radio? Yeah, yeah, well, I've been interviewed on radio before. Bobby Kennedy Jr. And his pal from no what's it called Ring of Fire. They interviewed me. We talked about the dangers of nuclear power. He's been trying to close down the Indian Point nuclear power plant 25 miles north of New York City, which is a great place to build a nuclear power plant, by the way. Unbelievable. And it happens to be built on top of two earthquake fault lines. So that's more great news. So we're trying to shut it down really politically. Riverkeeper, Bobby Kennedy Jr. is working with them to shut it down, and I think Governor Cuomo is open to the idea of shutting it down to save millions of people from Japanese like tragedy which occurred with their nuclear power plants because it's just a crazy situation. I mean, we got to shut it down. That's all. Riverkeeper.org. Check them out if you want to help with that effort. Will you do a book tour? I thought this was it. Yeah, we're doing a book tour right now. Yeah, we went to Washington D.C. National Press Club first, and traveled to Westchester, Schenectady, Baltimore. Very warm receptions everywhere. We're trying to find a space in New York City, working on it, and meanwhile, just keep doing these radio and TV interviews and do my best. Un petit peu français. Do I speak French? Just a little bit. Japanese, atsui ne means it's very hot. Konnichiwa, sayonara, hello, goodbye. Just a few words in Japanese. I guess I don't know. I haven't been to Japan since I was a little kid. So, but France I've been to so many times. I don't know, like 10, 15. I don't know how many times. I worked with my father or uh, other adventures. I've been there many times. Beautiful, but uh, I, that yeah. So yeah, un petit peu français is the answer. Which means just a little bit. What is your favorite movie? Ooh. And do you have any that you're dying to see? Shit. I know there's something. Yeah, Iron Man 2 and 3 I haven't seen. They don't show it on Netflix. But favorite movie. Uh I've got a few. The Untouchables, Kevin Costner and De Niro, and that was brilliant by Brian De Palma. And Serpico, about one honest cop in a corrupt police force. Dead Poets Society. I've seen that many times. That's source of inspiration. What the hell's that? Oh, great. I don't even know that guy. No, just, yeah. Push him in. Put go. Yeah, yeah. Let him in. I don't know who it is. Can you see who it is? Sorry. Some stranger pushing the wrong apartment. Um, yeah. So those movies, many movies are a great inspiration. I find it's the Thor was good. But I love stories that are nonfiction, often be, that are stories about courage. Those are my favorite movies. Do I share my father's interest in photography? Well, like I said before, he kind of pushed me in a different direction, more towards video and film. So I would never be able to do anything like he did. he mastered the art of color film. Back then, it was very difficult, and now it's all digitized. So I guess he pushed me in a different direction, and so I went into music and film more so. But he used photography almost like a movie. Like he would conceptualize his photographs in his essays, photographic essays. So it was almost like a movie. But so, uh-oh, what happened? What's this? Oh no, okay, cool. It just went. Hi, Chris. A viewer wants to know what's your favorite part about living in New York City. Yeah, New York City. Manhattan is my home, and I don't know where else to go. I mean, I would like to find a place, home of the brave and land of the free. And for now, it's the closest I can find to that. So I can't complain. Yeah, I love New York City. It's I love how it's so many people in one city. You know, so many different kind of people, like a melting pot. That's that I relate to that because I'm half French and half Japanese, and so I can relate to coming from different cultures, even though I was born in Manhattan. And so I love that mix. I love the mix. Will you ever come down south to do an interview? Well, uh, where? Sure, I'll come down south. I reckon. I reckon. Um, I'd actually like to go to Colorado first, but they didn't set it up yet. If they are, like I said, land of the free, home of the brave. I've been to Florida. That's what you. You're tuned now. I'm tuned now. You're right. How did you know? All right. Uh, Are we going to hear you play? All right. I wasn't prepared for this. I'm working on this book mostly, so don't hold anything against me here. But this is some of this once a clip from what I'm working on. Chabela, it's called. What a surprise! Some magic in your eyes. Oh, how time flies. Time for time to say goodbye. Such a lucky fella. Never knows better, no. Such a lucky fella. Ah, ciao bella. I hope that's good enough for now. I don't want to take up all the time playing music for you. Oh, thanks. Well done, they said. Well, thanks a lot. Very good now. Bravo. Well, thanks. Thanks for being there. Takes a while to get used to this camera thing. You move one way, it's the opposite way. People down south do people down south do read. I live in Georgia. Yeah, all right, Georgia. Georgia in the house. Thank you for being here. People down south. Of course. I hope so. Who would you cast to play your father in a movie about his life? Well, let's see. I was talking with DiCaprio the other day. No, DiCaprio's too cute. That's I kid my dad. All right, so who would play him? Adrien Brody. I think he could play him as an adult, but they got to find somebody, some kid, to play when the boyhood struggle in World War II France, where the story begins. My father was 11 years old when the Nazis invaded the country, France, and that's just a great story. I mean, so a story of rebellion, and they got to find a young kid to do that and speak with a French accent, I guess. Um, who else? Who could do it? Johnny Depp? I don't know. He's pretty cute, man. So you know, I like Johnny Depp, but anyway, I want Scorsese to make a movie based on this book, and I'll write a screenplay for him if he wants. I'm going to be in touch with his producer and see what happens. But Scorsese's just a brilliant director. I really think if he could read it, I think he'd like to do it. I'd do it myself, but I don't have $5 million or 10 million or $20 million to do it. And so, well, maybe I'll find a way. Johnny Depp would totally work. Yeah, yeah, you like him too, huh? No, I really like his work. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Not that pirate crap though. Good movie was what was it called? He plays an FBI undercover agent, Donnie Brasco, based on a true story. Awesome, awesome. Courage, man. Hey, can you grab me there's an open Corona over there in the fridge. Thanks. Great interview. All right. Yeah, this has been fun. I'll get used to this one of these days. I mean the thing. Have you written any other screenplays? I wrote a feature film screenplay as I was getting out of NYU. Showed it to some people, but it was too dark. It was about two musicians dealing with the all the crazy homeless people who were being the insane people were being released under the Reagan era years. So it was funny, but I never really followed up on that because there were so many other projects coming up. But I could write a screenplay for the World War II story of this book. I could do that. I'd be glad to do that. Maybe I will. You love to laugh. You love to laugh and seem to really enjoy life. What are your future plans? My future plans. Uh, well, thank you. It's good to laugh. It's better than crying, isn't it? My future plans, well, immediately is to promote this book, L'Americain, a photojournalist life, John Launois and Chris Pan Launois. That takes a lot of time, and I've already written my second book. It's like a rock and roll memoir full of comedy and tragedy and everything you need for a good story. It's written. I just have to proofread it, but it's nonfiction, so I really have to. It's a lot of work to make sure everything is right, and so I hope to publish that one way or the other. I guess in about a year or two. And I have an album, a seventh album coming. Oh yeah, if you want to check out the music, it's w.thepan.com. If you want to, there's some free music there, and I think you can still get yeah, you'll be able to click on and check out the music there. I don't know, I think there's 5 albums on there now. But anyway, the seventh one will come, but it's already done, but I just had no time to uh, put it all together right away. But I need someone to do the artwork on it. And so that'll come to the music for Pan. And what else? Um, yeah, in the meantime, just want to live, stay alive, stay alert, stay alive. On the ready. Oh, you're looking forward to my next book. Thank you. That's very sweet. Um, yeah, yeah, I'll try my best to uh, get it out there as best as I can. I mean, I really want people to check it out. I mean, it's a funny and harrowing story, and I'm working on it right now. Yeah. Thank you. Do you travel a lot? I used to travel a lot, yeah. Um, but right now I'm just everything's focused on this book tour. So if they want to send me to anywhere, then I'll go there. But I I I just have to focus on this for now. Traveling. I mean, the last nice place I went to was Barbados, and just for vacation, I guess. I don't know if I'm like my father in the sense that I'd have trouble taking a vacation. It seems like there's always something to do, but um, I'm up for traveling, I guess, depending on who's asking. If people could only take away one thing from LAmericain, what would you want it to be? Hmm, take away. Oh well, all right. Well, I learned from writing this book with my father, and from really reading the story and getting into the story, I learned that really courage is the thing that matters most of all as far as my state of mind right now. It's like every step he took courage. Without it, none of it would have happened. He wouldn't have come to America across the Atlantic. He wouldn't have uh, uh, allow himself to be drafted into the U.S. Army and become a citizen, and he wouldn't have flown into typhoons for a story. And uh, every step he took courage. So that's the one thing that I take away from this book is courage. Courage is freedom. That's it. Yeah. Given the opportunity, would you travel to Mars? Good luck, baby. I'm not going to Mars. Why, you want to go to Mars? Come on. We got enough problems on this earth. No, but my father wanted to, he said, like, if there's ever a photojournalist allowed to go on a space mission, he'd like to go to the moon. But he didn't make it to the moon. But he went to that National Geographic covered story to the Philippines in the middle of nowhere, a jungle. You had to jump from a helicopter onto a platform on a 75-foot tree just to get into the forest. So that was like going to the moon, basically, and another world, totally untouched by civilization, I guess. Um, but yeah, no, I'm more interested in the Earth than Mars. I hope you don't take that the wrong way. Have you chosen the title of your next book? Yeah, that I have. Yeah, it'll have. I mean, I think I have. Yeah, it'll have the word pan in it, PAN. But I probably shouldn't say yet until it's published. But it'll have the word pan in it, and it's kind of a rock and roll memoir. You know, it's a lot of fun, and then it's a lot of serious stuff too. So get ready. What a fun chat. Unfortunately, it's time to say goodbye. Okay, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you. Would you kindly tell our hold on, lovely viewers that they can win a copy of your book at, there's more. Yes. Oh, at booktrib.com. Check it out. Yeah, booktrib.com. So good luck. It's a beautiful book. Beautiful team worked on it. It's a beautiful book. I think wish you luck on getting one of the free ones. Is that it? You tell me.